Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy, and today we're gonna analyze every single unit from the Vampire Cost roster and we're gonna decide at the end if this unit is worthy to recruit, situational or just for fun. Say that these are 3 islands that you may want to visit this autumn, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my video, and let's begin. But first I need to address something. Many comments that I received below the last video of this series were not that respectful, we can say. And I already told you many months ago I am a tough guy, I can look for a way to improve my videos, even in the critiques, in the insults, but there are many people in this platform that are a little more sensitive than me, and they can get affected very badly from this kind of content. So of course I'm probably not talking to my subscribers, to my supporters, but to to some dudes that just bump into the video and decided to leave a bad comment. I have to ask you to be more respectful towards the community and towards the content creator. Say that many people complain that I say that the gyrocopters are just situational instead of the strongest unit in the roster. Situational doesn't mean that they are not strong. Means just that in some occasion they can be stronger and in some other occasion they can be less strong. For example, the gyrocopters may have many troubles if they are fighting against an army with a lot of armor-piercing missile weapons or against many flying units. So that's what I mean with situational. In this scenario it may be not a must to recruit unit, but this doesn't mean that it's not a powerful war machine. And you know, I understand that for factions like the dwarves many people are in love, so you know they get quite sensitive when I say that this unit may have some weaknesses. But I mean, we're just making a video, and you're of course free to write your comments and say what you agree with, what you disagree with. But please, okay, just let's try to have a respectful tone and let's enjoy the game all together. The first category we're gonna address is the melee infantry, that, let's be honest, is quite poor in the Vampire Cost roster. We're gonna start with the zombie pirate deckland mob, that they are zombies, so they are undead, and they are immune to fear and terror, but at the same time, when their leadership is broken, they will start to cause damage to themselves. So you have to be very careful, because if you lose control over their leadership, they will start to crumble altogether and you will lose your army in a matter of seconds. This will be your bread and butter unit till you unlock the depth guard, so you will have a lot of fun with them. Be careful, of course, there is nothing exceptional about their stats, but sometimes against very low tier infantry they may win the fight. They are not anti-infantry even if they have a couple of swords, but probably the infantry is the best target for them. The Tide of Skjold are the Regiment Renown version of the zombie pirate deckland mob, and they have just 2 additional abilities. The Frenzy, so basically their stats will be boosted when the leadership is high, and then the Roadie, that basically it grants them perfect vigor, so they will never get tired. That is always nice. The second version with this unit is the one with the polearms. So basically you will get access in the early campaign to this infantry with the anti-large bonus and ammo piercing damage, all together with the attribute of the charge defense and charge reflection. So basically this unit will help you a lot to counter-attack cavalry monsters, even in the mid-game, since they have the ammo piercing damage. So when the monsters and the cavalry of your enemy will start to get tougher, you will still be a dreadful opponent to them. They are still zombies, so be very careful about their leadership, but yeah, they will do a great job even in the late campaign when they can defend your artillery, your back guard, and yeah, they are very good at the job, but that's why for me they are a must to recruit unit. I decided to include the zombie pirate gunnery mob in this section because even if they are by definition a missile infantry, you will still use them as a melee infantry. They have lower melee stats compared to the previous versions of the zombies, but they get this additional pistol that is not ammo piercing like many other pistols in the game, but when the ammunition are above 80, they are a little more explosive, armor piercing, and so on. They can fire whilst moving, so they are perfect for skirmish tactics, and they have the vanguard deployment, so you can deploy them, you know, in the area between you and the enemy, and you can send them to attack the the missile infantry, the artillery. Of course, you have to be careful because they're very weak, and if they are charged by a cavalry, they will go down very easily. But yeah, if you are careful, they can give you this extra damage and extra satisfaction. The Sirens are a very specific unit of this roster. They are very few entities and with no armor, but they compensate it a little with the physical resistance of 55%, but don't rely that much on that, because if you get surrounded by many infantry, you will go down very soon. They have the Strider because they are ghosts, so they don't suffer any penalty for the terrain. And about their melee stats, they are quite strong. They have the magical effect, the charmed effect that reduces the melee attack of the enemy. They are armor piercing, and this is very important, and then the charge bonus with a very good speed. Now they are very situational, because against some faction like the Skaven, they are just useless, but against the dwarves, they are basically some dwarves killer, okay, because all the weaknesses of the dwarves and the strengths of the dwarves, they can counterbalance them very well. So very situational and very strong. The Depth Guard will be your ultimate and the most elite melee infantry in the game. You will unlock them a little late in the campaign because, I mean, the gap between them and the zombies is quite huge, you can believe me. They are one of the strongest and the most expensive melee infantry of the game. They are very armored, so they can just chill against, you know, hordes of Skaven or other zombies and so on. Their melee stats are very good. The weapon strength is high with the anti-large bonus. They have a lot of charge bonus. They have the frenzy, so when the leadership is higher than 55%, their stats are boosted, and then they have the hunger. So basically their hit points will be replenished when they are engaged in combat. In very short, they are this anti-infantry armored infantry, so they are perfect, yeah, as I said, against the hordes of low tier infantry. But you have to be careful if there are units in your enemy army with armor piercing damage, because in that case they will be a little less effective. The second version is the one with the polearms that, like for the zombies, they get the charge defense, the charge reflection, the anti-large bonus and the armor piercing damage, so they are quite distinctive compared to the previous version. In this case you have to use them against the big monsters. They are quite slow, so you cannot chase cavalry monsters and so on, but as a protection, as an extra damage for the monsters that are gonna penetrate your formation, they are very good. In the late campaign, of course, you need at least 2, 3 or maybe sometimes 4 of them, and yeah, they are indestructible and very good at their job. They are probably one of the best anti-large infantry of this game because they have even the regeneration, so for me a must to recruit. The Bloody River Deck Guard is the Regiment Renown version of this unit, and they basically get this additional ward save that grants them a damage resistance of 45% for 22 seconds. That, I mean, nothing that interesting, but of course it's very nice if you want to protect yourself from a big monster. The Sartosa units are available only for Aranessa, and at least in her army you will replace all your zombies with them. They have the Rodi that grants them perfect vigor, and I mean, overall they're just better than zombies. They are human, so they don't cause fear, they are not immune to fear and terror, but they definitely perform better. The other version is the same, but they sacrifice a little of melee capabilities to get this additional pistol that they can fire while they are moving, so they are better, most suitable for skirmish tactics and so on. And yeah, they're great. You will replenish your zombies with pistol with them in your Aranessa army. Now let's address the category of the missile infantry, and the first unit we're gonna talk about are the bombers. Now I have mixed feelings against for this unit, because their missile strength is quite powerful, even if in the unit card is low. But believe me, it's satisfying. But they have just 5 ammunition with a range of 55, so you will end their use very fast, okay, in the battle. And in the melee they are very weak, so they are defenseless. They will go down very soon when they are attacked by any other melee infantry, cavalry and so on. So yeah, they are very niche, and at the end this extra damage, he may be satisfying to see, but yeah, at the end they are adding very little value to to your army. That's why for me they're just for fun. The second unit are the hand cannons. That may look like an undead version of the blunderbusses, but is not true. They have of course a mid-range, a little range of 90. The missile strength is ammo piercing. The ammunition in this case they are more than 5 at least, but they are quite inaccurate. Even if they are 120 models, you have to be very careful with them, because yeah, they can get attacked sometimes. Yeah, they cannot aim at the target, and yeah, they have so many weaknesses that it's hard to extract some value. Even if if you just consider the unit card, they may look quite strong. I recruit them many times, but all the times I'm just not satisfied with the results, so for me they are just for fun unit. Different is the case of the handgunners. This is a very OP unit, and I will block anyone that will say the contrary. They are these 120 zombies with the rifle, a lot of ammunition, a nice range. It can be better, but okay. A missile strength, ammo piercing. They have the black powder ability, so basically when their ammunition are above 80, they are even more damaging. And yeah, they are perfect against everything, against cavalry, against infantry, against characters, against monsters, against flying units. They are so versatile, and I think that any army of the Vampire Coast should get 2, 4, even 6 of them, because they are very powerful. They do a lot of damage, and you can annihilate all the other units that you shoot at. So for me they are definitely a must to recruit unit. The Black Spot is the regimental renown version of this unit, and they basically get the anti-large weapons, so they have the anti-large bonus, ammo piercing. Is basically like if their rifles can work also as a polearms. It's great, but they're still very weak zombies, so I would not rely that much on that. The deck gunners are your most elite missile infantry of the game. They are few entities and you cannot deploy them on the wall for now, but they get plenty of range, 245 meters, a missile strength with ammo piercing damage and the shield breaker attribute, so they bypass for 24% the missile block chance of the enemies. And yeah, they are great. I think that if you want to focus your army on the missile gunpowder power, you should recruit 2 or 4 of them. You need to deploy them in your front line, or in any case they need a clear sight of the target to shoot. They can also do it with one unit as an obstacle, but believe me, the performance will be quite low in that case. So yeah, for me they are a must recruit unit, and sometimes very necessary, especially against some monsters of very high tier and the cavalry, melee infantry, very armored, and so on. The Shade Wraith Gunners is the regimental renown version, and in this case there are so many other abilities. They have the magical effect, the frostbite, the weapon strength in melee is ammo piercing, they are strider, the physical resistance of 55%, the discourage, they reduce the leadership of the enemy. So many things together, and we like it, we love that. Now let's address the hero section of this roster, and let's start with the gunnery, wheat or white, I don't know. It's basically the support and missile specialist of the roster. He can boost the stats of the artillery and of the missile units overall in the army. He can ride a Promethean, so basically will get more armored, more sturdy, and faster. That is great. So you can use it both as a support or as a little tank. It has a couple of missile abilities that, in my opinion, they are not working that well. Sometimes they are not accurate, sometimes they don't properly hit the target. So yeah, this is, I have mixed feelings for this unit, but I have to say that I always recruit one of them if I am focusing my army on the missile and gunpowder department. So we can say situational for me. The Mongol Hunter, that is the melee specialist and the tank of your roster, is not a tank if you consider the unit card by default in the multiplayer, but believe me, in the campaign it will compensate the low armor with so many attributes and things that he will get indestructible. It has the hunger, so replenish hit points, many abilities, the stalk, so you can attack the back of your enemy. It's anti-infantry, it has the frostbite, so it will reduce the speed speed of the enemy that is chasing down, his siege attacker, he causes fear, and the missile resistance. There are, I mean, so many things, the Strider, the Vanguard deployment, you can use it in so many different ways to, you know, attack the enemy at the back, as a tank, to absorb damage, and yeah, it's a must to recruit in any army. You need, you know, a problem solver, and this is the best you can ever find. The last hero is the Vampire Fleet Captain, that there are 3 versions of them for 3 different lores of magic, and you can ride the Rotting Promethean, so you will get more armored and faster. That is great for a spellcaster, and we can say that not all the legendary lords, but all the generic lords of the Vampire Coast, they are spellcasters, so I don't know if you need an additional one, but yeah, in case you are playing with Luthor and Aranessa, you may need one of them. And in general, I want to say that the spellcaster are of course a must to recruit in any army. And yes, they are still vampires, so believe me, they can be quite sturdy and tough in melee. They don't go down that easily, but be careful about duelist and the crossfire. Say that, yeah, a must to recruit unit. The Damned Paladin is a hero recruitable only by Cylostra, and yeah, is basically a representation of the Bretonnian Knight, but more ghosts. It has the Strider ability, the physical resistance. I mean, what you can expect from a ghost. He can ride a horse, so great. It encourages the unit, the frostbite, the anti-large, the ammo piercing, magical effect. I mean, altogether is a great hero. Now let's talk about the artillery. That I would like to say that for a faction that relies that much on gunpowder, I would expect something a little more unique and particular. But we get the mortars, that they work as any other mortar in the game. Of course, if you're playing in high difficulty, it will be hard to hit the target, because the enemies will actively try to dodge your bullets, so it will be very hard to catch them. But if you're playing in easy mode, they will be catastrophic and apocalyptic. They will do a lot of damage. They have a very long range, a good missile strength, not ammo piercing, and yes, it's just a mortar, so you can deploy them in the back of your front line, of your second line, and they will have all the time to bring havoc to the battlefield and a lot of fire. So for me, situational, just for the high settings issue. Even in this case, I would have desired something more unique, but here we are with the carronades that are basically cannons, so they're specialized against large units. You should hit cavalry, you should hit monsters, some mounted characters. They have a lot of missile strength, ammo piercing. The range is very huge, and honestly, if I have to decide, if I have to prefer between them and the mortars, I would definitely choose them, because even with the hard settings, they will not miss the target. But of course, you have just to, you know, attack and shoot at monsters, cavalry, and so on. Overall, they're great. You have to be careful about where you deploy them, because if there will be a huge obstacle in front of them, they will not be able to fire. But yeah, say that they are a very must to recruit unit. The Queen Bess is a regimental renown, but also a unique unit in this roster. Is this very big, physically big cannon that unfortunately suffers of the same problem of the mortar. So when you're playing with the hard difficulty setting, he will miss the target many times, and believe me, sometimes it's so annoying because you are spending a lot on this unit, and it's very hard for it to, you know, to hit the target properly with the hard difficulty settings. And he gets the monstrous impact, so he reduces the speed and the charge bonus of the enemy. His ammo piercing with the fire effect. The ammunition are a little fewer than the mortars and the carronades. That it may be a problem. Honestly, I have a lot of fun with this unit, but I have to put it into the just for fun, because you spend a lot, and in the hard settings you will not hit any target. Now let's talk about Beast, and the first one is the Bloated Corpse. There is not that much to say about this unit. They worked very well on the model. I mean, if you see the details of the animations of the statics, they are so cool, but no matters because you will send it anyway against the enemy army to explode. If you will manage to, I mean, you should focus on infantry because already with cavalry and especially with monsters and characters, he will do no damage, will deal no damage. But yeah, if you manage to hit 2 or 3 infantries at the same time, he will destroy, he will annihilate the 3 of them, so great. I like it, but honestly I never crew it because it's not a solid option for your roster since you're gonna sacrifice it anyway. Now let's talk about dogs. They're just dogs, they do what you expect from dogs. They have the Strider, the Vanguard deployment, so you can just, deploy them in the area between you and the enemy, and, at the beginning of the battle, just send them against the artillery, against the missile infantry of your enemy. Maybe you can keep them hidden for a while and then attack, and yes, they're very fast, but they have no armor. Their melee stats are quite low, so they can just win a fight against the missile infantry and artillery. Otherwise, they're good at nothing, and probably against some faction like factions like the dwarves, they're just useless. So I think they are more situational because apparently against Empire and elves and so on, they may be very strong. The animated hulks. Now this monstrous infantry, I have first to say that it's quite weak compared to the other monstrous infantry of the game, so don't expect from them the same level of performance. They're still undead, they are siege attacker, they have the ammo piercing, weapon strength, damage. They are not that armored, their melee attack and especially the melee defense is so low, and they are not even that many entities. The speed, it's quite normal, they have no charge bonus. I mean, you should use them as a support monstrous infantry, so when the enemy front line engage with your front line of zombies for most of the time, you should probably send them to help them from the back, and they will do a good job. But don't expect that much from this unit because it's quite weak, so for me it's situational. The Morghuls, they are basically your more stalking monstrous infantry of the roster. They don't have plenty of armor, but they have the stalk attribute, so basically they can move hidden all around the map. They have the missile resistance, the hungered, so they will replenish their hit points when they are engaged in melee. They have the Vanguard deployment, the Strider, they have a very nice speed of 54, they have the frostbite effect that reduces the speed of the enemies, the ammo piercing and anti-infantry bonus for their weapon strength, a good charge bonus. Overall, you have to send them at the back or at the sides of your enemies and attack them when they less expected. They are not that tanky, so be careful to not let them get surrounded, but otherwise they will do a very great job at chasing cavalry, chasing infantry, attack them from the back, and I think they're very powerful, and for me a must to recruit unit. The Night Terrors are the Regiment Renown version that they get the spell resistance and, most important, the Chilling Aura that reduced the speed of the enemy nearby of 30%, that plus the frostbite, it makes them perfect if you want to chase down cavalry, monsters, characters. They are so hard to escape. Now let's talk about the Rotting Prometheans. They're basically crabs, that's why they're so lovely. They have plenty of armor compared to the other monstrous infantry, and they work as the tank for your roster. The speed is it's quite mid, but for the use you have to do it, it's okay. The melee attack and especially the melee defense is great. The weapon strength is ammo piercing, they have a little of charge bonus, and then they get the siege attacker and the charge defense versus large. Not that with their mass you should worry about cavalry charging you, but it's always nice. As I said, you can use them as the tank for your army, especially when your missile units are focusing the fire on the enemy units. They're great. Okay, don't use them just as a support because they will be a little wasted. Just send them in the middle of the fight, and with their big armor it will be hard for them to take that much damage. The Rotting Prometheans version with the Gunnery mob is basically the same, but up with these missile zombies with the hand cannons on atop. And for me, I have to say, this is just my opinion. Feel free to tell me in the comments that I'm wrong. But I use them a lot of times and I don't see a huge difference compared to the generic version. This missile attack, you cannot even just use it. It's just an additional damage. You cannot control it. You cannot control who they will shoot at. So I mean, I like the aesthetics. I like the idea of these crabs with zombies with the hand cannons atop. But if I have to talk about the effectiveness, you're just spending more for not a huge advantage. That's why for me they are more situational. I'm sorry for that. Lamprey Revenge is the regimental renown version of this unit, and for me it's great because it got the regeneration, so basically it can replenish his hit points even when they are not engaged in melee. That is great because this is already starred unit, so in this way you make it almost impossible to take down. Now let's talk about flying units, and let's start with the fell bats, that are basically bats but undead. They have the vanguard deployment, so you can definitely use them to attack the artillery pieces and the missile infantry of the enemy. They have no armor and a very good speed of 110 and an inexplicably high melee defense, but okay. In any case, you have to be careful of everything if you are attacked by any unit that is not a missile infantry or an artillery, but in case you focus only on them, they can be quite strong, quite elusive, but yeah, for their very low leadership, at the end they will go down, and when you don't even notice it. So believe me, for me they're more situational. Even if they are very strong, what they do, you will lose them all the time. The deck droppers are basically bigger bats that they carry zombies, in this case with the pistol. They are quite harassing, they can fire whilst moving, and there are fewer entities than... I mean, the good point of the missile zombies is that even if their missile attack is very weak, at least there are more than 120 entities. In the case of the deck droppers, they're just 24. So I mean, you can use this unit for its versatility. So you can shoot a little of bullets and then charge them with the bats, but still a little complicated to use it. And I mean, honestly, in this case, I use them just for fun. There is the version with the bombs that is quite the same. They have very few entities, so you lose the power of the number, and in this case you even get just 7 ammunition. If you want to use them as a bats, but the bats have more entities, so they're better at the job. So what is this? Okay, the leadership is quite low, so they will also go down very easily. They will finish their ammunition very fast, and then you cannot use them in the proper way in melee. So even in this case they are quite for fun, but I would never recruit them in a solid roster. Salt Lord Scuttlers is the regimental renown version, and they get the sundered armor, so they reduce the armor of the enemy they will shoot at. That it may be great, but it still doesn't change the essence of this not that useful, in my opinion, unit. For the deck droppers with handgunners, the situation is quite different. In this case, we're talking about, in my opinion, a very strong unit. They still have all the weaknesses of the deck droppers, so the very low leadership, they are not that good. I mean, they are useless in melee, but their missile attack can justify their presence. Their damage is quite strong, is ammo piercing with a decent range, and even if they lose the power of the number, you will be more elusive. You can just move around and hit the enemy at the back, and believe me, against cavalry, against some monsters and some armored units, they will be perfect at the job. But that's why I will put them in the situational part, because you still have to be careful of missile units of the enemy and other flying monsters, but yeah, at least situational. Now let's address the monster section, and we will start with the Death Shriek Terrorgeist. That is basically the same of the version of the Vampire Counts, but the model is a little different, is more, you know, marine, we can say, and we love it. Okay, it's basically this huge flying monster that is not big as the dragon, but is probably more fierce, because he will win almost every fight against other flying big monsters like it. He get a breath ability that is a magical missile, very explosive, that he can be strong against infantry or against cavalry, other monsters, and so on. It has the regeneration, so even if it may look like that he's losing the fight, he will actually replenish his hit points and you know, win the battle at the end. He's anti-large, so specialized against monsters with the poison effect, reduce the stats. I mean, overall for a late campaign, it's a must to recruit unit. The second monster we're gonna talking about is the Rotting Leviathan. This is a very big crab with a very huge armor of 150. The melee attack and melee defense are very great for a monster of this entity. The weapon strength is high with the anti-infantry and armor piercing damage. The charge bonus is little but okay, and you get these zombies atop that will fire with their handguns, and believe me, they are quite strong at what they do. They are also armor piercing. Then this unit get the expert charge defense, so any charge bonus will be ignored against it, and then the immune to flanking. So if you attack the flank, the back of this unit, you will just not suffer any penalty for that. Overall, it's a tank, it's a huge tank, so you can use it to put it in the middle of the enemy army and absorb all the damage. You will get all of that without even feeling sometimes, and yeah, I just love it. It's very hard to recruit, you will wait a lot in your campaign, but at the end you will be satisfied, and this of course a must to recruit unit. Now it's the turn of one of my favorite units in this game. I'm talking about the Necrophax Colossus. That is basically this giant sheep man that with the mid armor, a decent speed. The melee attack and melee defense are low, but believe me, the weapon strength is quite huge with armor piercing damage. He's also an artillery piece, a very strong artillery piece I would say, because he gets more volleys. I think they are 4, of course, with armor piercing damage, an amazing range of 330. He can fire whilst moving, so you will have an artillery piece that can move around while it's firing. When the hit points are less than 50%, so in case you get surrounded by many infantry units, you will summon a unit of zombie pirate deckhand mob, and I mean, believe me, it's crazy, because you will be protected by these zombies. I mean, you know, like a ship, like whatever. And yeah, I love all the aesthetics, the concept, the ideas behind this unit, and it's even so strong, okay, because in melee it's sturdy if it got attacked, but as an artillery piece is amazing, okay, with the long range fire whilst moving. I know that I'm repeating myself, but yeah, I have no words to express all this love for this unit. The Gallows Giant is the regimental renowned version of the Necrophax Colossus, and in very short it sacrifices a lot of range, I think it's 200 meters, to get an additional missile strength with flaming attack and flaming effect, and the burnt attribute, so it will reduce the leadership of the enemy. So the range will be shorter, you will not have the fire whilst moving ability, but yeah, the damage itself will be far huge, huge, I think, yeah, I can say that, and it will cover a wider area. So it's if the Necrophax Colossus, it probably performs better against cavalry and the monsters, the Gallows Giants is better against bunches and bunches of infantry altogether. Thank you for following me, and see you very soon.